Alrighty, everyone. So I know I had mentioned, and I am going to do this every week. I am going to do questions review every week of the questions that we are working on in the Felon is Not an Option Facebook group. If you are not in my Facebook group and you've come across this video just by finding my YouTube channel, there is a link that will lead you to my Facebook group and you can join it. Every day we go over tons of questions that are found on Quizlet, ChatGPT. Sometimes people send me questions and they want me to post it and give a better understanding of how to find the best answer in the question. I know there are some people that send me questions from like Pocket Prep and they want a better understanding to the question, and I'll go over it. But some of the times I find these questions on Quizlet. A lot of these questions are found on Quizlet. So if you go on Quizlet and you just put in AATBS questions or MFT practice questions, you're going to get a ton of them that's going to come up. I have a ton of Quizlet links that's in the group. So if you are not in my Facebook group, I am urging you to please join my Facebook group where we do daily studying with one another. Okay. Alrighty, so let's take a deep dive, and we're just going through these questions very casually, not we're not like, harping over whether or not if we're going to find the best answer. We're just reading these questions and then we are studying the answer responses, okay? Alrighty, so this first question, Harry and Janet seek therapy because their 15-year-old son Jason is acting out. His mother says that his grades are dropping, he listens to heavy metal music, and he stays out past his curfew. He dresses in torn and dirty clothes. She says he defies household rules and appears hostile and sullen most of the time. She tells you that his hair used to be a lovely blonde and now it's purple. He used to be such a sweet boy, she says, and now my baby won't even talk to me anymore. Girl, leave this doggone teenage boy alone. Who would you work with as a structural family therapist? Take a look at these answer responses, okay? But before we do that, let's take a look back up at the vignette and see what we need to highlight that is going to lead us to our best answer. We got Harry and Janet and Jason. Harry, Janet, and Jason is mentioned in this question. So as we are looking at our answer responses, should all of those family members be included in the answer response? The answer is yes. All of those family members need to be included in the answer response. Do not pick an answer response that is going to separate them. It is going to be the incorrect answer. Let's walk through the answer responses. A says the parents in order to strengthen their executive subsystem. Why do they need to strengthen their executive subsystem? The kid is just finding himself. The parents are not doing anything wrong where it's causing a split between them and now there's a coalition or anything. The kid is just finding himself and the mom is kind of struggling with the family life cycle that he's going through. B, the entire family in order to map out the influences. Now, this is a structural family therapy question. Mapping out the influence sounds like what from what model? That's narrative therapy. Automatically incorrect. C says Jason alone in order to establish an alliance with him. Why are you establishing an alliance with him? You need to be telling the mama to back off of him because the boy's just trying to find himself. He only wearing some torn. If you want to be dirty and funky, let him be dirty and funky. Okay? D says the entire family in order to evaluate the family sequences of behaviors. Yes, we are going to see the entire family. We need to be looking at some of the sequences of behaviors that's going on. And keep in mind, this is your probably first session. It says they are seeking therapy. It's probably your first session. So a structural therapist is not about to be doing any type of interventions or anything that is going to have them actively doing something. They're going to be joining with the family, observing the family, and looking at those sequences of behaviors, leaving D to be the best answer. Alrighty. Henry, a 79-year-old retired engineer, has been referred for counseling by his primary care physician due to ongoing insomnia and symptoms of depression. He has been experiencing several health challenges recently and mentions that he recently joined a local fishing club. Aww. He lost his spouse to illness 4 years ago and tells you, Most of my close friends have passed away. He also shares that he isn't sure therapy is going to help him. Now, before we take a look at those answer responses, go on back up to that vignette and see what sticks out and what we need to be paying attention to. He's 79 years old, insomnia and symptoms of depression that we cannot ignore. All of his close friends have passed away, so it seems like he doesn't really have anybody else that can support him. And he's also unsure if therapy is going to help him. Let's take a look at that question. What is the most important thing you can do in the initial session? This is right at the beginning, right there, right at the start, not in the middle, not at the end, right at the start. Initial, you just met him. Keep that in mind. A says gently inquire if he is feeling hopeless. Okay. B says create a safety plan. C says comment on how much loss he has experienced lately and how hard that must be on him in order to develop a trust and therapeutic relationship. Okay. And D says refer him to a sleep study. Now, let's take a dive into some of these answer responses. Take a look at D. First of all, I know he has insomnia, but he also has depression. So forget about depression and just send him to a sleep study. Not making no sense. Strike it out. Get rid of it. C says comment on how much loss he has experienced lately and how hard that must be on him in order to develop a trust and therapeutic relationship. I really would like to know how you commented on this 79-year-old man who has no close friends and no one else to be there with him, and telling him how hard that must be is going to help with the therapeutic relationship. That's not going to do anything. Cross it out. Get rid of it. B says create a safety plan. Why? Why are we creating a safety plan? We don't know if he has any suicidal intent and what the risk is going to be. You can't create a safety plan before you assess. So leaving B incorrect. I know it does not say assess for suicidal ideation, but if that is not mentioned, you need to look for the best answer out of the four, and the best answer out of the four is inquire if he is feeling hopeless. And if you inquire that he is feeling hopeless, then you're going to go right on into doing what? A suicide assessment. And then if he's suicidal, and depending on what the risk level is, you're going to create a safety plan. That's how that goes. Make sense? Okay. Leslie has been working with individuals and families for the last 19 years as a licensed marriage and family therapist. Recently, she has noticed a change in how she views her clients. She finds herself getting frustrated at them easily, annoyed by them for not following through on their goals, and she has little to no patience by the end of the workday. What is Leslie's ethical obligation? Now, before we take a look at those answer responses, let's go back up at the top and let's just see what we can point out that is going to lead us to our best answer. Now, she's been working with families for 19 years. That's a lot. I get it, right? She has noticed a change in how she's viewing her clients. She's getting frustrated and she's easily annoyed because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And she has no patience at the end of the day. So she must have a big caseload of clients, and she's now feeling it all, like I'm tired of them not listening and everything. So now it seems like we got to do something that's going to help her so that she's not harming her clients. Ethically, that is what we need to do for this question. A says seek appropriate professional assistance. I like the answer, but let's look at the rest of them. B says provide referrals to her clients. Now, before we start referring somebody, you got to at least try to help yourself first, right? We don't want to do anything that's too far, right? And then providing refers to the clients, it sounds like it's abandonment, right? Share her feelings with her clients. No, because if she already got no patience, she's liable to go in there and cuss those clients out, and you can't do that, right? D says monitor her feelings and increase activities of self-care. She can, but before she does that, she needs to do what? She needs to seek appropriate professional assistance. She needs to have consultation. She needs to talk to her supervisor about how she's feeling, and maybe her supervisor can come up with some self-care that she can use, and maybe she can try to work differently with the clients that are not following through on their goals. So when it comes to questions like these, make sure that you are putting them in the order first. Don't do something that's too drastic or too far out first. Make sure you are following in an order, okay? Now, Maria comes to your office with her 8-month-old son. She sits stiffly on the couch and startles when the door closes behind her. You notice she is gripping her diaper bag tightly and her hands trembles slightly. Maria shares that since her baby was born, she's been consumed with worry that something bad might happen to him, even though there has been no specific threats. She reports episodes of dizziness, a racing heartbeat, and occasional upset stomach. Okay, go back up to the top. Let's look and see what can we point out that's going to lead us to our best answer. Easily startles, the door is closed and she's tightly gripping that diaper bag. Fears that something is going to happen even though there's no specific threat. Dizziness, racing heartbeat, and an occasional stomach that is upset. After confirming, we know that the baby is safe and we're cared for. What are we going to do next? A says refer her to her healthcare provider to rule out any underlying medical conditions that's contributing to her symptoms. I like that response, but let's look at the rest of them. B says start cognitive behavioral therapy techniques to help her challenge anxious thoughts. Here is my issue with B response. B is ignoring something in that vignette. B is ignoring her physical symptoms. We are not doctors. We do not ignore physical symptoms. A racing heartbeat, I'm not touching it with a tempo pole. I'm not a doctor. Occasional upset stomach, I'm not a gastroenterologist or whatever it is. So we can't do that. That's outside of our what? Our scope of practice. And dizziness seems like that's a lot. So I'm not touching that. We need to refer her out, right? C says offer education on postpartum anxiety and normalize her experience. What? Okay. And when you do that and she falls out in your office, now you have a problem because you failed to do what you were supposed to do, right? D says recommend she see a psychiatrist to discuss possible medication. First of all, we are not doctors. So we can't. She sees a psychiatrist to discuss possible medical options. No, she needs to go to a doctor. And then that doctor may say, hey, these are the medications that you need to be taking. We can't do that. So A is the best answer. Refer her to her healthcare provider. Any question that you see that is include racing heartbeat, shaking, trembling, pale skin, dizziness, feeling faint, bleeding, and they're in your office, medical. You have to respond with a medical response. Medical matches medical. Somebody taught me that. Mike, I think it was Michael. Medical matches a medical response. Okay? During the termination phase with George, he becomes distressed and requests to continue therapy with you instead of terminating. You believe that therapy should be terminated. You should, first of all, sorry, we're not doing that first. We need to go back up and see. He becomes distressed. He's requesting to continue therapy, but you think that therapy should be terminated, okay? A says, review the presenting problem and develop a new treatment plan. Oh, Lord have mercy. No. B says, reassess the need for termination. Okay, I like that answer response. C says, empathize with his feelings of distress and add some sessions before proceeding with termination. Okay, so, what's his name? Okay, George, I understand that you're feeling this way. Let's just add some more sessions and then we can think about terminating. That's what that sounds like. Okay? And D says just get rid of them all in all. And wrong. That is abandonment. You can't do that with your clients. Don't choose an answer that's telling you to terminate immediately. Go back to that vignette and see if you have enough information before you choose an answer that is telling you to just terminate. Okay? Now, here's the thing about A. Review the presenting issues and develop a new treatment plan. A has you starting all over again. We don't need to start all over again. You're in the termination phase. This vignette does not say that his goals were met. It just simply says that he wants to continue therapy with you. Termination is collaborative. You cannot just say, oh, I believe it's time for you to terminate. George and the therapist needs to discuss that together. That's why you're going to choose B, reassess the need for termination. This vignette didn't put a lot of information in it, but you had to use what you have to lead you to your best answer. Sometimes you're not going to have all the information. Out of the 4, find the best answer. Read those responses and make it make sense. A therapist has been assigned to work with Layla, a 14-year-old who was recently evacuated during a massive wildfire. She was separated from her parents for several days before they were reunited. Since returning home, Layla has been quiet, cries frequently, and reports difficulty falling asleep. What should the therapist do first? This is a first question. Go back up to that vignette and look for any symptoms or any red flags that is going to stick out, that is going to lead you to your best answer. She was evacuated during a massive wildfire. She's been displaced. Right? She's been separated from her parents for several days before they were reunited. She's 14 years old. She's 14. She's scared. She's probably was crying. She's probably was worrying. Think about those thoughts that she's been having. She's quiet, and now she's still crying frequently, and she's struggling to fall asleep. She got some trauma symptoms that's coming here, right? Okay. A says start a structured trauma therapy protocol to help her process the experience. Now, here's the thing. We know it's trauma that she has going on, right? But that's not what you're going to do first. We're not trying to re-traumatize the girl, right? B says evaluate her current level of functioning, daily coping, and immediate needs. I like that answer response, but let's take a look at C and D. Refer her to a psychiatrist to rule out an acute stress disorder or PTSD. You ain't got to refer her to no psychiatrist to do that. Hell, we went to school and studied the DSM-5. We can do that on our own. We don't got to refer her to a psychiatrist to do that. Wrong. Get rid of C all in all, because that's just ridiculous. Encourage her to share what she remembers about the evacuation. No, again, that's you moving too fast, moving too soon. We're not trying to re-traumatize the girl. She just found her damn parents, for Pete's sakes, right? B is your best answer. And if you paused the video and you found B to be your best answer, then congratulations. I am proud of you. We are going to evaluate her current level of functioning, daily coping, and what she needs. She's 14. Wildfire, separated from her parents. She can't sleep and she's crying frequently. She's probably afraid that it's going to happen again. We have to evaluate her level of functioning, daily coping, and her needs first before we do anything else. Now, you began therapy with Eli, a 14-year-old whose parents are in the middle of a custody battle. Both parents have signed consent for treatment. In an individual session, Eli confides that he has been exploring his sexual orientation and is terrified that his mother will find out. He pleads with you not to tell her. What is your ethical responsibility? Go back up to that question and let's take a look at it. Eli, he's 14 years old, custody battle. Mom and dad over here don't want to be with each other anymore for whatever reason. Both parents signed consent for treatment. He's exploring his sexual orientation, but he's afraid his mother is going to find out, and he doesn't want you to tell her. What is your ethical responsibility? A says disclose the information to the mother so she can provide emotional support. And I'm going to provide emotional support. The mama ain't got to do that. That's what he's seeing a therapist for, right? B says maintain confidentiality unless the disclosure indicates risk of harm to Eli or others. Now, I like that response, but let's take a look at C and D. Support Eli in exploring whether and how to share this information with his parents. No, we don't have to do that, because now it's like you're pushing him to do that, and our clients have autonomy, right? We can't make him do that. We shouldn't be supporting him and offering him to do that. If when he's ready to do it, then you'll work with him through that and how he will do it. D says seek legal guidance. This is an ethical question. Why are we? So now we're going to call a lawyer and ask, hey, should I tell the parents? No. Take a look at B. Maintain confidentiality. That's what you're doing. There is no risk of harm to himself or others. There's no need for you to break confidentiality. You're just going to maintain it and support Eli, right? We're just going to support him. And when he's ready, he'll be ready. Alrighty, Miss Rivera, a 32-year-old woman living with HIV, has been seeing licensed therapist Carlos for 6 months. Recently, Miss Rivera informed callers that her health has declined and her doctor has diagnosed her with AIDS. Oh my God. Carlos finds himself feeling overwhelmed and sad after each session, with these feelings lingering into his personal time. He has also had vivid dreams about being responsible for Miss Rivera's children if she were to pass away. Oh my God, this is heartbreaking. What should Carlos do next? So let's go back up and look at that vignette. She's 32 years old. She's living with HIV. She was just diagnosed with AIDS. And he's feeling overwhelmed and sad after each session. And he's having dreams that he would be responsible for taking care of her children if she were to pass away. I don't know if this question is really hitting me differently. What should Carlos do next? A says terminate to avoid emotional reactions and then journal. Now we are abandoning a 32-year-old woman who was just diagnosed with AIDS and she has children. The last thing she needs is abandonment, right? So A is incorrect. B says seek professional consultation to address his emotional reactions. I like the sound of that, but let's read the rest of them. C says share his personal feelings about the situations with Miss Rivera. Absolutely not. We are not self-disclosing that to a client, especially a client who was just diagnosed with AIDS. She is really going through the emotions right now, so as the therapist, you're going to add more to it by doing that. Absolutely not. Get rid of C. D says join a support group for therapists working with chronic illness. I like that, but that's not the first thing that he's going to do. He needs to seek professional consultation. If when he seeks his consultation and his supervisor was to tell him, hey, maybe you should go to a support group, then you would do that next. That is making B the best answer. I don't know, guys. This question really made me feel some type of way. It's just a scenario, but it really hit me differently. Alrighty. So I hope each and every one of you has a good understanding of these questions now. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, something that you still don't understand, please leave me a message. Send me a chat on Facebook, post it in a group, comment on this video. Let me know if you still just don't understand it. I am going to strive to do these weekly so that you guys will always have as many resources as you possibly can when it comes to studying for this exam. I appreciate each and every one of you. I know this video is a little bit over 20 minutes like I typically do, but I hope you just watch this video all the way to the end, and yet you have a better understanding of it. Again, I hope you all have a great night. I am around if anyone needs me.